Hi.
Hi.
Okay, so let's talk about your paper. And so let me open up your paper and I have to find the right one. Is this it? Let me just a second. Let me see if I have to find your paper because I have three papers open up in case one after the other here. So let me see, is it this one? See, no, not that one. Is it this one? No, no, what about this then? And no, not that one. Like this. Okay, it's this one. Okay, so Kim Tong-yoon. Okay, so let me go back to share screen. And here we go. Okay. Okay, so here's your paper. And so, like I tell all the students, one of my, and we're recording the session, of course, so I'll send you the recording to the link to the recording later on today, this afternoon, probably. Like I tell all my students, one of my objectives is to help you polish your already excellent English. And so I understand pretty much everything that you're writing, no problem there. It's just a matter of trying to make it even better than it already is. And I think it's also important in terms of helping students, continue to think about their English, is that I can't just tell you, I shouldn't just tell you how I would write something. It's better for you to think about how you can improve it and change it. And then you decide how you want to change it. And then you make the changes. And if when you do that process of thinking through how to rephrase something in your own words, in your own way, with my assistance, then you're more likely to learn rather than me just tell you how I would say it. Doesn't really, there's not much thought involved if I just do it like that. So that's why when and these comments that I've sent to you, I am always like proposing two different ways of saying the same thing. Either way is okay. It's just it's rather for you to choose which one or you would like to use, or just do it some other way, but it's up to you, right? So to begin with the analysis of the events in the 1970s, externally, you right here, externally, Europe, Russia, Japan, and so I suggested that, you might want to rephrase what you're trying to state. You wrote, so steeply grown up that the threat in the America, I would say rather that externally Europe, Russia, Japan had so rapidly developed so much that they threatened the primacy of the United States, or had so grown economically so much that they threatened the primacy of the United States. So either one of those is okay. Either one of those is, they mean the same thing. So my question is, which one do you prefer? Which one do you choose? Which one do you like best?
First one.
Okay, so I'll let you clean it up so that you can think about it some more. And I'll send you this, of course, after we're done here. And because again, if you have to clean it up, you'll think about it. Okay.
Okay.
America and the ongoing. So something's got to be there before Vietnam War. So I say the or the ongoing. Which do you prefer?
Yeah, ongoing.
All right, the ongoing.
The ongoing. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, the ongoing. All right. Okay. So Vietnam War was so costly or very costly. Which do you prefer? The ongoing Vietnam War was so costly or it was so very costly. Which do you prefer?
Costly.
Costly, all right. Costly. Yeah. Okay, costly. Okay, costly. So I'll let you clean it. Like I said, clean it up. There were numerous. Instead of saying there were a lot of, you can say there are a lot of cars, or there's a lot of candy. But say there's a lot of wars sounds kind of simple, too basic, right? So we want to say something like there were numerous ongoing wars. Which do you prefer?
Numerous.
Numerous, all right,
Yep.
numerous, okay, numerous. So we'll just let you clean that up. Wars in the or within the Middle East, or in the Middle East or within the Middle East, which do you prefer?
In the middle.
In the Middle East, all right, in the Middle East. And Middle East is capitalized, capital M here, and a capital E here, okay. And
Yeah.
and together with together with or along with oil price, together with or along with oil price rises or increases, together with or along with, which do you prefer?
Together.
Okay, together with, okay. Together with oil price rises or increases, which do you prefer?
Rises.
Oh, right, rises, okay, rises. So I'll let you again clean that up there. Rises, all right. Not only on Earth, but also attention to competition in space or in ballistic missile technology. Competition in space or in ballistic or competition in ballistic missile technology.
Competition in
Or ICBM technology. Which do you prefer?
competition in space or ballistic missile technology.
Okay, competition in space. Okay, so ICBM stands for Intercontinental Ballistic Missile. So it's the same thing, basically. Was ongoing. Okay, was ongoing. And again, and I say here, do not use slang metaphors and scholarly writing. So hot potato is a metaphor. It's not really a hot potato. I don't see any potatoes. Do you see a potato? Don't use slang metaphors in scholarly writing. You can use that in informal speech and informal writing, but you want to be more formalistic. Was ongoing. All right, was ongoing. Okay, so I'll clean that up here. And internally, the black people achieve the practice of their or gain the practice of their right to vote. So we always capitalize this B, by the way, here. So achieve the practice of their or gain the practice of their right to vote.
Achieve the practice.
Okay, achieve the practice of their right to vote. Okay, achieve the practice of the right to vote. And also, I mean, I didn't cut this out, but we wouldn't say internally the black people, or we might say internally black people, or we might say the black population, the black people. I mean, or the black population, the black citizenry. Okay. So cut that out. So which do you prefer? Internally, the black population or the black citizenry? Which one do you prefer?
Black population.
Okay, the black population. Okay. Achieved the practice of the right to vote. There were ceaseless strikes, or labor actions. Either one's okay.
Labor actions.
Labor actions, okay, labor actions. You say struggles, disputes. Which do you prefer?
Disputes.
Disputes, okay, disputes. Disputes. Riots among races in different regions or cities. In different regions or cities, which do you prefer? In different cities or different regions?
In different cities.
Okay, in different cities. All right, in different cities. There, we go like here, different cities. And the rise of new religion or the growth of alternative spiritual movements. Religions. The rise of new religions or the growth of alternative spiritual movements.
The rise of new
religions. Okay, all right. And while conservatives assume that, or the establishment, and while conservatives assume that, or while the established authorities assume that nothing had to be done for blacks. So which do you prefer?
White conservatives.
Okay, okay, all right. So, okay. And you go like that, you go like that. Nothing had to be done for blacks. In this storm, yeah, so, the quotation mark goes here, not, it goes, it doesn't go around the citation, it goes before the text, it goes with the text where it's being quoted. So I just want to highlight that. In this storm, industries were, this doesn't need to be capitalized. Industries were restricted and developed. After the Second World War, after the World War II, I'm sorry, after World War II, which do you prefer?
After the second.
Okay, the Second World War. All right, the Second World War. The US or America, which do you prefer?
America.
America, all right, America. Had uninterrupted growth or extended growth?
Extended growth.
Extended growth. Okay, extended growth. And like that, extended growth. And like that. For the first time, yeah, okay. The change or the crisis was dynamic. Which do you prefer?
The change.
The change was dynamic. All right, the change was dynamic. The change was dynamic. I'm missing a word here. And was a tough development, or and was a difficult development in the 1970s. So which do you prefer?
Tough.
Tough development. All right, in the 1970s. Okay. So we go like that. It was a tough development. Okay. Then there was deep economic austerity for much of the population. Yeah, again, put that there. Okay, yeah, all right. In this kind of atmosphere, after John F. Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson, or after JFK and LBJ administrations, so which do you prefer?
After the Larry B. Jones.
Which one, the first one or the second one?
The first one.
Okay, all right. Like that. And a Republican conservative was a Republican conservatives we were elected, or I messed that up. So we go here, review, we go reject this change. A Republican conservative was elected, or Richard Nixon was elected. Which do you prefer?
Republican conservative.
All right, was elected. Okay, so go back here, click there. He thought this chaos throughout the whole society was caused by, or the result of?
The result of.
Okay, what's the result of? Okay. What's the result of? Something like that. What's the result of progressive forces? Boo, progressive forces. Boo. Let me see, maybe I can reject that change. Reject change of progressive forces. So with the rebound against progressive force, conservatives start to gather. This development is, or this reaction is. Which do you prefer?
His development.
This development is, okay, how the trends or the reaction contributed.
The trends.
Oh, the trends, okay, contributed to this resurgence of conservatism, and it was overall and powerful. It was powerful or strong.
Powerful.
Powerful. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, but okay, and I mentioned, okay, yeah, it was powerful, but still, Jimmy Carter won the presidency in 1976. He defeated Gerald Ford, who was Richard Nixon's vice president, that Nixon appointed right before he quit. And that might be one of the reasons why Jimmy Carter won the election. And there are a number of reasons. There's never one single reason why somebody wins the election. Like there's no one single reason why Donald Trump won in 2016. There are a number of different reasons, a number of different causes that all come together that allowed Donald Trump to become president. But one of the factors in the case of Jimmy Carter winning was that Gerald Ford, right after he became president, after Richard Nixon resigned, then pardoned Richard Nixon. He then declared that Richard Nixon was hereby pardoned because the president has this power in the US Constitution, that Richard Nixon was pardoned for any crimes he may have committed while he was president. So he could not be put on trial for anything that he did while he was president. He could not be charged with a crime. And so for many people, a number of people reacted very badly to that. Gerald Ford, like there appeared to be some kind of a deal. Richard Nixon appointed Ford as vice president in I think it was 1970. I can't remember. It must have been 1972 or 1973. And then because I think Nixon's, Nixon's vice president resigned. Spiro Agnew resigned. And then because of crime, for criminal behavior. And then who replaced him? Was it Ford? I think Ford might have replaced him. And then Ford, when Nixon resigned, Ford then pardoned Richard Nixon. And many people reacted against Ford for that reason. Of course, Gerald Ford had a reason for doing that. He had his explanations or justifications for doing that. Not just that he wanted to become president, so he made a deal with Nixon that if Nixon appointed him vice president, he would protect Nixon. But he said, I remember Ford said, when he came into office as president, 2/3 or 3/4 of his day, of his workday as president of the United States, would be dealing with Richard Nixon issues, about charging Richard Nixon, about investigating Richard Nixon, about preparing to put Richard Nixon on trial. But he said, I spent most of my day dealing with Richard Nixon when there are all these other problems we have to deal with in America. And that was his justification for why he pardoned Nixon. So Nixon, for all of the bad things he did, he was never put on trial and for any of the bad things he did. But that may be one of the reasons why Jimmy Carter won. But it was not the only reason why Jimmy Carter beat Gerald Ford. But to go on here, and so like, for example, Donald Trump, he's now being investigated right now by different courts, by different prosecutors for his behavior before he became president and after he became president. And we will see if these investigations will produce any kind of investigations or indictments or court action against Trump. And so we'll see. But Gerald Ford prevented all of that with Richard Nixon because he declared, he gave Richard Nixon a pardon for any crimes he may have committed while he was president. And so Richard Nixon was never investigated after he left office. He was never put on trial after he left office as president in 1974. None of that ever happened, like is happening now with Donald Trump. Yeah, I didn't really have time to write this in here, but you don't need to use first person, I, me, my, we, us, our. You don't need to use that. Don't use first person pronouns like I, me, my, I, us. You just make your truth statements and prove them, because when you use first person words like I, me, mine, us, you're reminding the reader that the reader is reading a personal opinions, and the scholarly reader does not want to read personal opinions. So, also, if you get rid of first person, you get to the point and make your statement, and then you should prove your statement, your truth claim. You should prove your truth claim through citing scholarly evidence. So Trump's later slogan, or later the Trump's campaign slogan, which do you prefer?
Later, does Trump's slogan.
Okay, Trump's later slogan, Make America Great Again, was all about his direction, about how to move forward. Which do you prefer?
About how.
About how, okay, about how, all right. About how, and to move forward. And blue collar laborers actually missed the relative prosperity of their parents' generation or previous generations. Missed the relative prosperity of their parents or of previous generations. Which do you prefer?
In the 1970s.
Okay. I'm not certain that you could make that claim so much in the 1970s. I might rather say in the 1990s. I mean, in the 1970s, the problem wasn't so much. Well, I remember the 1970s, and I remember when all this was going on, and the problem was there was inflation, and then in the 1970s, the economies of Japan and South Korea and in Europe and in Latin America, they were growing and beginning to export lots of products to the United States, and American companies could not really compete against the more efficient steel companies producing steel like POSCO Steel in South Korea, or the Japanese companies, or the shipbuilding companies in South Korea or Brazil. They couldn't compete with the Asian and other companies. And so it was in this time that you began to see lots of factories closing in the United States, but it really didn't become really intense until the late 1970s. And then it was all blamed somehow on Jimmy Carter and the economic problems at the time. It was also convoluted or mixed in with the embarrassments and humiliations that America as a nation, among many American people, were perceiving. We lost the Vietnam War, right? We lost the war. We never lost the war before. Now we lost the war after all of that money and all of those soldiers killed. And the economy becomes bad. Richard Nixon has to resign because of his criminal behavior. So you can't really, many people became suspicious and distrustful of American political leaders, which maybe they should have always been, but they had not really been that distrustful until the Vietnam War disaster, and then the Watergate scandals really caused many Americans to become really suspicious of their political leaders. And then Jimmy Carter becomes president, and the economy gets hit again with inflation and oil price shocks earlier, before Carter, with the 1973 oil embargo, with the Middle East war going on. And then again in late 1970s, 1978, 1979, with the Iranian Revolution. And then the Iranian Revolution overthrows an American ally, the Shah of Iran, that the American CIA had supported as a client, and he was overthrown, and then the American diplomats were seized as hostages in Iran, because the Iranian revolutionaries believed the CIA was going to try to put the Shah back in power after the Shah came to the United States for medical treatment after he resigned, after he left the country. And Jimmy Carter couldn't get them released. Yeah, and those hostages were held for 444 days. So there was, but my point is, there was a lot of things coming together in the late 1970s, and it wasn't just, it wasn't just domestic issues. It wasn't just domestic economic issues were important. Inflation became really high. I think by the time Ronald Reagan became, or by the late 1970s, Jimmy Carter appointed Paul Volcker as chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank. And inflation in the US was up to 20% per year. The highest it had been ever in the 20th century. Maybe it was high in the 19th century at some point, I don't know, but it was really high, which, today sounds outrageous because we have a problem of deflation almost, although of course now the current inflation rate is increasing because of the global disruption of production due to the pandemic. All right, so there must be inflation in South Korea and there's inflation in the US, but people are saying this is the highest inflation since Jimmy Carter was president in the 1970s. And people are hoping that it's just temporary. But the point is, it wasn't just the economic issues. It was also the perceived international embarrassment of the United States by losing a war in Afghanistan. Then it's Jimmy Carter comes in and says, I'm not going to focus on containment of the Soviet Union as the focus of America's foreign policy, because that focus caused the Vietnam War. I'm going to focus as the president of the United States on human rights. And then, in the late 1970s, you saw revolutionary changes come to countries like Nicaragua and former colonies of the Portuguese Empire, like Angola and Mozambique. And revolutionaries come to power in those countries, and they're talking in terms of communism. And also in Somalia and Ethiopia, and the opponents of Jimmy Carter, the supporters of Richard Nixon and later Ronald Reagan and later Donald Trump, would point to Jimmy Carter as this fool, this idiot, this soft-headed putz who allowed communism to expand because of his soft-headed refusal to focus on dealing with the Soviet Union as the threat, as the main threat confronting the United States. And that was a big part of why Ronald Reagan won in 1980. The economy obviously was a very important part, but by 1980, there was inflation, but there wasn't high unemployment. Then Paul Volcker becomes president of the chairman of the Federal Reserve in the United States. He just died, I think a year or two ago. And he boosted interest rates like over 20%, like up to 24%. And that sent the US economy into the deepest recession it had ever been to since the Great Depression. In 1982, it went to deep, deep recession, the worst economic downturn since the 1930s. And to deal with the inflation and the labor strikes and all of those elements. And Ronald Reagan compensated for that economic dislocation and the unhappiness it generated among many American people by becoming more nationalistic, right? The United States invaded Grenada. The United States spent lots of money on building up its military, which boosted the economy as well. And so, so it was not just the economy, although the economy was a big part of it. And then you jump ahead to Barack Obama. You don't talk about Ronald Reagan, though. You see, for people like Daniel Flynn, like we talked about on the midterm paper, Ronald Reagan is the key figure here. That Ronald Reagan, supposedly, when he was elected in 1980 by beating Jimmy Carter, he saved America and he saved the world from the mistakes of Democrats like Jimmy Carter and later and earlier Lyndon Johnson, right? That Ronald Reagan saved the world, and Donald Trump built upon that belief that Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan, that they were the leaders that America needed to make America strong, not these liberal Democrats who submitted to or succumbed to or appeased, that's a better term, appeased these leftist revolutionary social movement leaders in the United States, the feminists, the the anti-war protesters and youth in the 1960s and 70s, the feminists, the gay rights advocates, and the socialists, that these people were the source of weakness in America. And Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan and later Donald Trump opposed them. And whereas Barack Obama encouraged them. You know, I mean, among some people who hate Barack Obama, one of the things, for example, the Obama administration did was send a notification to all American schools, of the thousands and thousands of schools in America, that they have to accommodate transgender students. So if a transgender student says, you know, the person was born with the biology of a male, but they feel like they're a female, right? They want to use the female bathroom in those schools. And the Obama administration, I think at the end of its second term, he sent notification to all of the American schools that they have to accommodate transgender students. So transgender students should be allowed to use the bathroom they want to use. And for your typical common American white family, this was outrageous. I'm going to send my child to school, and that my child, let's say my daughter, she's going to use the girls' bathroom at school, and then come into that girls' bathroom is going to walk a boy dressed up like a woman. Are you crazy? So, I mean, and who knows what that person's going to do? Rape her? Yeah, and that's what they're claiming, that these transgender people, first of all, these transgender people are sick in the head, or they're dangerous, or both. And what is Barack Obama doing? Sending notifications to all the thousands of schools in America that they have to accommodate transgender students by allowing them to use the bathroom of their choice. And a lot of people agree with that. I mean, you know, like, for example, what's the, this is serious stuff. We're running out of time here. I can't really talk. I can't talk anymore about it because I got to go to another student. So, yeah, so I guess, yeah, please do not use first person, I, me, mine, me, us, in formal writing. I mean, just to conclude here, you know, I mean, to defend Barack Obama, like in Korea, what's the biggest cause of death for young people in Korea? Suicide. In the United States, suicide is like the 5th biggest cause of death for teenagers, people killing themselves, right? And who is overwhelmingly predisposed to kill themselves in the United States among young people? Gay and transgender students, right? I mean, they don't choose to be transgender. They don't choose to be gay because their life becomes horrible when they're gay. They're abused. They're often hated by their families. They're abused, and then they kill themselves. So if are we gonna fix this problem? I mean, that was the justification, that, you know, we have to make a world that's better for everybody, including people that are born that way. They don't choose to be gay. They don't choose to be transgender, but they come into this world and they suffer horribly. Like something like what, like 40 or 50% of young people kill themselves are gay or transgender, right? So there was justifications why Obama did that, right? But for your typical American, this is outrageous. Your typical white American, this is just outrageous. Okay, we have to stop there because I have to go to the next student. So let me, do you have any questions? And
No, sir.
Okay, so let me send you what I saved. Reply, and there we go. And see how fast I can use this computer. And we go here, and go here, and we go like here, and we go here, and send. And there you go. Okay, so that's it for today. Bye.